All right, so let's start today's session. So this is the 12-week program. If you're joining us for the first time, today it is week 7, and our topic is work-life balance. Today we will be talking about stress in the body, our emotional responses, and ways to work with that stress and anxiety that we all have at times with inner pharmacy. So first of all, what is work-life balance, right? Often we just say work and life, but if we go deep into it, it's actually much more than that, right? It's everything that goes on in our life. Often we think of work, and work likely causes a lot of stress and anxiety, right? It could be like, what will happen today? What will happen tomorrow? Will I have my job? Or how will my presentation go, or whatever kind of work that you do. And then we come to life thinking that when our work will finish, whether it's 9 to 5, or most of us work much more than that we'll be able to leave the work behind, come to our life, and it will be much better. However, when we come to life, it's equally, if not more stressful, right? There's so much to deal with at home, kids, family, friends, things to do. And all of these give tremendous stress in our lives. So as we think about this, a quote I have for us today is, and that will be one of our centering themes today, is about staying present in everyday life, right? Because by staying present, we can be rooted in ourselves, just like we took minutes of simply pausing, breathing, connecting with the breath, connecting with the body, centering ourselves. If we can do that at any time, whether it's at work or as we are shifting from work to home, then it can help us, right? It can be for our wellness and well-being, versus simply running like a wild river, right? Or dragging. So in our previous weeks, some of the exercises that we had done were on purpose and values. And I would like us to take a minute and go to your golden books, go to your diaries, go to your notebooks or piece of paper that you started, and either read it or simply in your mind connect with your purpose and values. And purpose, as a reminder, is your why. Why are you here? What is important to you is what your values are. What do you want? What will be your legacy? What do you want to be remembered for? What gives you fulfillment, whether, at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, or end of your life? So as you think of your purpose and values, if you did that exercise, I would like you to again take some action, because something magical happens, and I'm repeating it, but it's important that when you write it, especially in a cursive way, you transition from simply an idea, a thought, to something that's important and you can take action on. So let's take 30 seconds, either read it or write the first words that come to your mind on what does work-life balance mean to me, meaning you, or what is important to you right now as you think of beyond just work. All right, so if you finish that exercise, also one of the weeks we had talked about fears, right? There's many things that we want to do in life, but often our fear comes, and one of the best ways to counter the fear, to again connect with your courage, is to step through it. And for that, we'll do some stretching. And I invite you for a couple of minutes. Let's find a nice standing posture. Again, push yourself. Again, if there's something that comes saying, I don't need to stretch, trust me, some stretching, some movement will help you. So let's find a nice standing posture. And one of the wonderful exercises, movement. So bringing your palms in front of you. Let's slowly breathe. Take a deep breath, hold the stretch, hold your breath. Breathe out, relax. And let's turn either direction 3 times. And after the 3 times, you can turn the other direction. And let's keep moving. Any posture, any stretch that feels right to you in this moment, trusting your body, it will guide you. Just like when you yawn, your body knows what to move. And that's one wonderful way of just listening to the body, trusting your body, stretching. All right. So next, what we will do is some tapping. So flat palm or a fist, start from your fingers, start tapping your arms, shoulders, back of the shoulders, back of the arms. And again, work with your body. You can do less, more, skip apart if it doesn't feel right. And you can think of it like waking up your body or releasing any tension, releasing any pain, releasing any emotions. Matter of fact, there are meridians and acupoints along our body, along our arms. And 2 of them I spoke about last time. One is your heart meridian, and the other one is your lungs. So we are increasing our immunity by getting the energy to flow more. And lastly, let's kind of shake it off. Arms up and down, or simply breathing in and letting go with a sigh. Wonderful. Let's bring our palms together, rubbing them. Again, putting it over our eyes, our face. And let's return back to our chairs, our mats, sofas.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We have a very interesting session today, one in which is sort of the great mystery of life is this work-life balance. If you've been here the last couple of weeks, you know who I am. And our new presenter today is Cheryl. She is a total well-being coach, a meditation instructor, and a health instructor. Cheryl, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to the group this morning, that'd be great.
Hi, everybody. It's, can you hear me? Yeah. I'm so happy to be here and to share some of my passions today. And what led me here was a very stressful life. And now I am spending most of my time rooted in the present moment and feeling a dimension far greater than the stress. And it's a beautiful way for me to access love, joy, peace, and flow. So my life used to be in pieces, and now I'm at peace.
Great. Thanks, Cheryl. We look forward to what you have to say today.
Thank you.
Just a quick little summary about me. I too came from an incredible place of stress, mainly due to a global career in advertising, and have been actively practicing Ayurveda for about 12 plus years. Meditation and sleep were my mainstays of how I could beat down the stress that was coming at me. So with the education that I have from Chopra Organization, plus my own self-education, this is where my goal now is to help people reduce their stress and achieve a better balance in their mind and body, because it is quite complicated as there is so much coming at us and I noticed someone in the chat had mentioned that they just want peace. And I think that that can speak to the global stage, and it can also speak to within ourselves. So let's begin with the inspirational photo I have here. This is the famous artist Judy Chicago. How you interpret art is everything. I'm going to just take a second and talk about how this relates to the work-life balance. So if you think about the walls coming in on you with stress, the most important thing is that you can rise above it and get through it. So I like to look at this as the end point where you can get above the stress and then into the sky, into that sunset. The other way to look at it, and you'll see in the presentation today, I'm going to go inside our bodies, is stress has a negative effect within our whole operation, within our hearts, within our vessels. So when I look at this, I also think about, if you think about constriction in the arteries because of stress, because your heart rate's increased, those white prongs are like this constriction on you. So stress constricts. Where we want to be is this expansion. So learning this work-life balance is going to be really important. So Jas addressed this earlier. I think this is the multitude of what we're dealing with, where how many hours in the day do we have and how can we prioritize ourselves? So my next realm is going to be educating you on what happens beneath the surface of you, and then help you in your external presentation of managing stress. So mind, body, and soul, we are everything. We are comprised of our experiences, both internal and external. Food affects us, personal relationships, sensory experiences, like this wonderful walk on a peaceful beach, sleep, work, social interactions, and daily routine. All of those, if we have the right experiences, if they are positive, if they are peaceful, if they are one with us, those are all the great signals to the parasympathetic nervous system, which causes rest and relaxation, that we're in a good space. If we have the opposite of that, that's when we get into a problem of fight and flight and freeze, and our body reacts in a very different way. So let's talk about what stress is. So stress, I'm going to just drop down to the bottom here. It's perceived obstacles, then you go to the emotional response, and then it goes to a physical response. So take a look at that. Your first thing when you're stuck in traffic is, what do? You start swearing, you start looking at your phone, you are not going to get to where you need to go. And then that's when your heart rate increases. It's when you start to feel the short breaths. So it is a trajectory of this internal sort of combustion engine, if you will, that's not always positive. So through this fight, flight, or freeze response, our body we don't have any control of that. That sits in the sympathetic nervous system. So immediately your body's going to go into this reaction. And I'm going to now show you what that looks like in your deep beneath the tissues. Okay, going scientific here for a second. When you're in a fight, flight, freeze response, take a look at this diagram. Your pupils dilate, your lungs, you start to do quick breathing. Your bowel movements, your digestion is put on pause because the blood needs to go somewhere else. Your blood flow, and the pressure increases, which puts more strain on the heart. Your muscles become more tense because your body's under this fight, flight, freeze response. Your stomach, it's going to be kind of a little bit of a tornado. Your heart, which, as we talked about with sleep, is going to tell you everything about your health, but that's beating faster and there's panic in your system. The blood vessels constrict, and then saliva, the flow decreases. So without you even asking your body to do any of this, when you're in a stressful situation, that's what happens. And so you're not aware of it. And that's why I think the more we understand what's happening in our bodies, the better we can look at a situation and be like, is this good for me? How am I going to change my response to this? Because you want to be best friends with your parasympathetic system. The autonomic system is a completely different one. We are most concerned that, and this is medical science, this is Ayurvedic science, that when you have persistent stress on parts of your body, they ultimately contribute to some sort of disease. So on the left, you'll see increased blood pressure and heart stress, coronary heart disease. Increased stress hormones leads to anxiety, insomnia, and addictions, which sadly is we're seeing a lot right now. Increased blood sugar, you'll get adult onset diabetes, obesity, decreased circulation to the digestive tract. Again, if you're under fight, freeze too long, it's not sending blood down there to help. You'll get digestive disturbances, decreased growth in sex hormones. Sadly, this is real for people who are under stress for too long, premature aging. We've seen that in the pandemic. People don't look as bright and shiny as they used to. Decreased immunity, obviously, this is going to lead to our infections and cancer, and then increased sticky platelets, heart attacks, and strokes. So I am not here to tell you that this is your certain future. I'm here to say that under repeated long durations of extreme stress, your body will start to isolate parts of it, and manifestations of some sort of condition can occur. So let's talk about the continuation of prioritizing our health so we don't have to be in here. Just going to allow somebody into the room. Hold on. Okay, so now as Jazz started us with our breathing, we slowed down. There are proven benefits of meditation. It takes us out of this fight, flight, freeze response, and it helps our body and our brain. So there are two components to the benefits of meditation. And while I'm not here to teach meditation today, let's look at what happens. Consistent meditation practices will give you improved immune function, reduced anxiety and depression. You will be rejuvenating, and those anti-aging hormones. You'll have better cognitive skills. Your relationships will be better because you are more balanced, and there's a lightness of being because you don't feel weighted down by stress. This combination between what's happening in your parasympathetic system and this cleansing of the brain that happens every 20 minutes when you meditate, for me, that counter activity was essential. So last night in preparation for this meeting today, I took a look through all my journals. I'm an avid journaler. I have been for 25 years. And I wanted to show you the transition of what it was like before I started taking care of myself and after. So when I started my business and it was doing really well, I wrote in my journal, the business continues to grow while I grow weary. And that was an interesting wake-up call because 5 years into meditation and nutrition and better assessment of, healthy living, I wrote, and the business is still crazy at this time, it's a race and a lazy afternoon all rolled into one. So I was able to take that frenetic pace during the day, but slow myself down on the inside so that I could approach the day without having all these negative interior effects. So now we're going to go into the limbic system. So the limbic system sits in the brain and is responsible for your emotions and your memories. Now, emotional balance is absolutely key. We have sadly experienced many people who, if they don't get their chai latte right, the order right, they'll fly off the handle. When you're that emotionally thin, that tells me that someone's not grounded, that stress is percolating. So with that, the more we can help people ground themselves emotionally to calm that limbic system and not send signals of duress, it means that we've got a more balanced person in the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual space. So again, the goal with Ayurveda is to live in the absence of disease. And sometimes complex emotions can actually be the root cause leading to disease. So this is why we want to be able to encourage people to have these tools so that you can open up and express emotion in a better way and really remove yourself from stress attachment as best as you can. Now, granted, there is trauma. We are not here to represent ourselves as psychologists or therapists. We are here to promote non-prescribed choices that are all within your domain every day. So let's take a look at what some of those are. So emotions are derived from our perceptions of our needs not being met or not met. We feel emotions and sensations in our body that are associated with our mind. So if we see an X that we're not wanting to see, our heart rate increases and we have a flight response. We want to avoid that. Really, the emotions are about comfort and discomfort. So I just want to take a second on this. So comfort encompasses the feelings that move us from constriction to expansion. So I'll take you back to that visual of the Judy Chicago image. That expansion of opening up and out is where you can be your best and calm self. So that's where you have, like, take for instance, like the Dalai Lama. He exhibits joy, peace, love, delight. He's got such great humor and gratitude. His relationship with stress, despite the fact that he came from trauma and history, he's really been able to embrace that by shifting off a lot of the emotions that he encountered and that stuck to him as a kid. Discomfort, sadly, is the feelings that constrict us, and stress is constricting. So that includes distress, frustration, anger, regret, fear, pain, and sadness. So in life, I don't think it's all or nothing. You can't be uniquely always happy, but I think that we should have a goal that we are moving towards that progression. And that there's a great expression, which is progression is better than perfection. So you'll always have something in your life to counterbalance this, but I think in terms of a balance scale, you want to be sitting more in comfort than discomfort. We all want that. Secondary emotions are really tricky. Sadly, a lot of people having dealt with trauma or who are dealing with trauma, you will get a lot of high arching anxiety, hostility, and guilt and depression. And again, we ask you to go and see proper trained therapists for that. We are here just to help you look at what your relationship is with emotions and how to improve upon them. So there are 7 biological responses. So I won't get into each one, but we've talked about the fight, flight, freeze. That sits in the sympathetic nervous system. So like I said, you're not in control on that. That's like the automatic driver. Reactive is if my boss asks me to do one more thing, I'm going to fly off the handle, right? So I love the bird in that attack mode. So this is where you are still under threat. These next emotional responses are about moving yourself out of an angry position. It is about conscious awareness of choosing your reaction. So restful awareness is about taking a beat, not reacting in the moment, and continuing to assess the situation with a supportive response rather than taking the angry bird response. Intuitive is, I like to put it as knowing where someone's coming from, like where's their anger and distress coming from. Try to read through the lines, try to read beneath the surface of the human that you're interacting with to see if it's not really the fact that you didn't unload the dishwasher that's the problem, but the fact that that person's boss might be just stressing them out, but you're the quickest line of attack when they're stressed. So intuitive response is being able to shift this discourse because you know it's not really about you, there's a lot more in depth to intuitive, but that's a quick summation. Creative response is probably one of my favorites, because it's not taking a normal emotional response. You are taking yourself out of the equation. I think normally when we're in stressful situations, we are the first up to have our opinion, our defenses, etc. Creative, I'll give you an example. My parents, for one of my big birthdays, just sent me this check, and there was like no birthday card, there was no gift wrap, there was no nothing. And I was like absolutely gutted, because it just was like a non-event for them, which is so unlike them, because they're normally very creative and around the holidays. So what I did was I took that money and put it back into the community for a charity purpose that I run. And I made it a big fanfare, and that actually made me feel better about the disappointment that I had. So a creative application in a stressful situation or an unhappy situation is always a nice way to do it. So the creative application, actually, you're creating the joy out of something that may not have been bringing you joy. Visionary is when you connect to a higher being. This is when I like to think of, who would I want to be in this scenario? Do I want to be Mother Teresa? Do I want to be the Dalai Lama? Do I want to be, I don't know, Audrey Hepburn? Channeling someone who has perhaps grace, who has a vision, who has forgiveness. The visionary response is really about you replicating somebody else's way of handling a situation. And sacred response just comes through you when you're connected to any higher purpose. And that is all about, how can I serve you? It is never about you as an ego standpoint. It is about you basically handing over every asset that you have to help the person or the people in front of you. So all of that to say is, fight, flight, freeze, reactive, you're not necessarily in control of. But the beauty is, what you are in control of are the softer emotional responses going forward. So those are choices. And by all means, I think Jazz will send around this presentation, so you can Google them and get to, connect with them. I think every situation deserves a different application. And then the final couple of slides, we've got, for some, conscious communication. Okay, this is a thing that's been around for a while. If you have a person, people in your life that are making you show up in a side of you that you don't really like, these conscious communication questions should be inner dialogues with yourself before you react. So diagnose what happened, identify the feeling within. What are you not getting in this situation? What do I need to ask for? And then what's the gift or opportunity? So these are really, and this is like a proper tested theory. This conscious communication settles down any active state of intense conversations. So I welcome you if you haven't seen this before. It is a softer side of a conversation. And when you are soft in your approach, you tend to not get a huge aggressive backlash from someone you're working with, because they too will slow down. So even in this conscious communication, you will have your heart rate slow, those blood vessels will not be so constricted, your muscles won't be tense. So the calmer you are in your responses, your body is like, I got this, thank you, I'm slowing down now. So those are really important to take some action of calm versus defensive. Because in the end, we all share the desire to be happy. The happiness industry is some remarkable $400 billion industry, as everybody's trying to feel better. So the two things that I want us to look at here is that the average human thinks that happiness is derived from object referral. So the clothes that you got at Zara or Nordstrom, your brand new car, your amazing new condo in whatever neighborhood, there is this object referral that equals happiness. But the true art of the happiness is the self-referral. It's the stuff that isn't tangible. You can tell people who have this, they just seem to be content all the time. And I witnessed that with my meditation teacher, and it was like a mystery to me. I was like, why is she so happy? Why is she so radiant? Why is she so full of grace? And I realized that the totality of her experience in the world was one of peace. And she took care of herself. She took care of her finances. She helps people for a living. But she absolutely derives her happiness from her self-referral, how balanced she is on her interior, how she sees the world, the universe, Mother Nature. That is the goal that you have. And I'll put Dalai Lama in that category too. Your happiness is from within. And they teach it in, church as well, is that the power of the kingdom resides within. We are our own happiness. We are in charge of our own happiness, as hard as that may seem. So I wish you an interesting journey as you find all these new ways to combat the work-life balance. But just in the end, I think it's softer reactions to stress, and take care of your body with all these practices that Jas is teaching in this 12-week program. And with that, Cheryl, I will go over to you.
Well, thank you, Molly. That was so much great information that you shared. And what resonated most with me is when you talked about your journaling, and the business grows while the business grows, while I grow weary. I had felt like that so much in my life. And I'm so grateful for the teachings. I'm going to be talking on the power of now. And that was my portal into that dimension that you just described on the prior slide, the dimension of pure awareness or pure consciousness where infinite possibilities reside. So this is my Eckhart Tolle is largely responsible for my spiritual awakening. And it was one YouTube video that introduced me to him, and I was caught, and he still has a tremendous influence in my life, and I can reread this book, The Power of Now, over and over and over again, and glean something different. So he's a New York Times bestselling author, and he's named an influential leader. I think he's one of the most influential spiritual teachers of our century. And he's also teaching spiritual awareness, who devotes his life to helping people attain spiritual awareness. Very powerful techniques. I'm going to be describing, you can go to the next slide, one of his most important and easiest technique. It's called the inner body technique, that if you can take yourself into these, out of your thoughts and out of that incessant chatter in your mind, which is our human part, and you can reside in your being part, which is beyond your mind, that's where you have access to the power of now. And so using this inner body as a portal into, or an anchor into the power of now, is very, very powerful. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about just how we go about our daily life, it's often important to remember, like, we're so busy doing all those things in that work-life balance slide, but it's not necessarily what we do, it's how we do what we do. So if we can bring in this added dimension of peace into every situation in our life, then there's that inner stillness and that complete presence. And that's what gives us just a lot of grounding and accessibility to not the fight, flight, freeze response, but to the parasympathetic rest and digest, or the rest and relaxation response. So if we can notice what level of awareness that we're bringing in our daily lives and shift it into more peaceful awareness, that is the goal. So how present are we while we're performing our work? And the more present we are, the more it just shifts the quality of what we do. So the key is that there will be more flow, ease, and grace in what we do when we can access this peaceful dimension, so that work will not necessarily be something that is dreadful, but delightful. Everything we do will have a different quality, and balance and harmony will be restored. So with that, let's see. I'm going to take you through this Eckhart Tolle's connection with the inner body. So please sit comfortably again and close your eyes for this practice if it's comfortable for you to do so. Later on, when being in your body has become natural and easy, this will no longer be necessary. Please direct your attention into the body. Feel it from within. Is it alive? Can you feel life in your hands, your arms, your legs, your feet, your abdomen, and your chest? Can you feel the subtle energy field that pervades the entire body and gives vibrant life to every organ and every cell? Can you feel it simultaneously in all parts of your body as a single field of energy? Keep focusing on the feeling of your inner body for a few moments. Do not start to think about it, feel it. The more attention you give it, the clearer and stronger this feeling will become. It will feel as if every cell is becoming more alive. And if you have a strong visual sense, you may get an image of your body becoming luminous. Although such an image can help you temporarily, pay more attention to the feeling than to any image that may arise. Please gently and gracefully open your eyes. So throughout the day, you can use this inner body meditation anytime you feel like you're noticing like this incessant mind chatter. And as soon as you notice, you can use this technique to shift and to connect with your inner energy field instead. That way you can go beyond the mind and that repetitive and negative thought process that drags you like that raging river that we talked about earlier, and to connect to your essential nature, which is the beingness of your human being. And you can bring that into the background of all that you do while you perform all those tasks in your work and in your life. And that's where you can have so much more balance. So that is the power of now. And all it takes is, as the slide says, one conscious breath to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Molly, I'll let you continue sharing, please, so I don't have to switch. Thank you. That was beautiful. And I was listening to one podcast, and one of the challenges that I have, and I'm sure many others have, is how to switch off the work and come into, we were talking about work life, come into life or leave the work behind. Or I would even say during the work hours, if something happens which is causing us stress, which is causing us anxiety, or a difficult person makes a comment that is not helpful, I think we all have the power to pause, the power to use the analogy, to use the metaphor of a tennis ball. If someone throws that tennis ball to us, to sort of let it go, or instead of catching it and throwing it back. Or with this meditation, at the end of the day, we can again pause, we can connect with the breathing that's always going on, with gratitude, and shut off, leave our work on a side and switch to what is more important. I again encourage you to go back to the purpose, the values. If you've not done it, redo that session. The recordings are available. I'll share the link again in the chat and in the summary emails that we send. And one other tip that I'll leave you with is that if you are connected with what is important to you, that it can be your North Star. It can be your compass, as Mandy said in that session. And an example of that is that it could be late at night, you're tired, you're exhausted. But like last night, my daughter said, read me a story or tell me a story. As much as I didn't want to, because I was able to connect that is what's important to me, that she remembers, I still took the time. And now I can think about it. That's what's giving me fulfillment, and not something else that I was doing, whatever that may be, that was not meaningful or that meaningful. So we'll see you next week, where we'll have a wonderful session on introduction to holistic health, which simply can be said that we need to think of our health other than the physical health, body, mind, spirit. We'll share with you a wonderful science of life called Ayurveda. It's a 5,000-year-old science, how it can help us, balance, take simple ways, change your expression, change the impressions around you, and change your life. We look forward to seeing you there. And also, if you go forward, Molly, I'm in Long Island today. If anyone's joining us from here, we'll be doing a 2-hour session in person. And if not, one ask, please take 1 minute of your time, answer our survey. Our coaches, our instructors look for feedback. This is one way of you supporting us, validating what is working, what's not working. And please share in one or few words, one thing you're taking with you today that you commit, that you will take action on, that you'll do different. Otherwise, information is plentiful. We read books, we watch podcasts, we listen to videos and many shows and so forth. But taking action is important, and that can be done by writing it down, by putting it in words, by sharing it with others, and committing to take action. So look forward to seeing you next week. And till then, thank you, our wonderful 2 guests.
Well, I'm actually in Canada, in Edmonton, Alberta, and please, if you have any questions, and if I've tweaked your interest in the power of now and you want to just talk about it or get any other information, please don't hesitate to email me.
So thank you all for your time. I know you're here for a reason, and I hope that as we're nearly at the halfway point, actually just at the halfway point, that we are learning from all these teachings. I think that the collective power of all of us makes a difference, because it shows that we as a community want to move forward to a better, calmer environment and find that interior sort of settled, grounded peace that we're all looking for. So I wish you well. It's something that I think we can all benefit from in our areas of work and our home.
All right. Thank you for joining us today. Have a wonderful Sunday. Everyone else who will be watching the recording, we'll see you in a future session. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Namaste.